All right, so we're going to take a look at 7.3 Circle Study Guide. If you look at the top part of the study guide, you have your formula for circumference and the area of the circle. Now, you see that the actual circumference is c equals 2 times pi times radius, or you can do c equals pi times diameter. And then for the area of the circle, you have area equals pi times radius squared. And then you also have the definition of the word diameter and the definition of the word radius. And as we look at the diameter, we can see that the diameter is a line that goes through the center of the circle, touching each side of the circle. And to find diameter, you simply take the radius and multiply it by 2. Now, as far as the radius is concerned, it is simply a line that goes from the center of the circle to only one edge of the circle. And to find the radius, we simply take the diameter and we divide it by 2.
Okay, so let's take a look at number 1. And number 1 says a circle has a radius of 51 centimeters. Give the approximate area to the nearest whole number. So what we're going to do is we're going to write out our formula for finding an area, which is A equals 3.14 times the radius squared. All right, our radius is 51 centimeters. So we're going to plug that into the formula as A equals 3.14 times 51 raised to the second power. Okay, all you have to do is go to your calculator over here. You're going to type in 3.14 and we're going to multiply that by 51 squared. And 51 squared simply means 51 times 51, and we're going to get an answer of 8,167.14. It's round to the nearest whole number, so we leave it as 8,167. That's going to be our answer for number 1.
All right, so let's look at number 2. Number 2 says, given the figures below, which 3 of the following expressions correctly calculate the perimeter of the shape? Now, I know it says 2, but actually there are 3 of them, okay? Which 3 of the following expressions correctly calculate the perimeter of the shape? So we're going to look at this and see what we come up with. So first of all, when I look at this picture, I see 3 squares and 2 half circles. So if I put those 2 circles smack together, it becomes one big old circle, right? Yeah. So what I'm going to need to do is find the circumference of the circle, which is the distance around the circle. And then I'm going to find the perimeter of the square, which is exactly the same thing, the distance around the square. And we're going to add those bad boys together. So let's start with the square, because you see that the side limbs are 5 all around. Okay. So how many 5s do I see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 4 to 5s, right? So I'm just going to simplify that, and I'm going to do 5 times 4, which is going to give me 20, right? So I have 20. So I'll have 20 there. And then I'm going to do the circumference for a circle, which is going to be C equals 3.14 times D. Okay? Right now, how do I find out the diameter of the circle? Well, I'm looking at the 2 squares that I have. If they're both equal 5, and this is 5, and this is 5, that means the diameter is 10. So I'm going to have C equals 3.14 times 10. That's going to be my, my circumference for the circle. So I'm just going to bring that down here. So 20 plus 3.14 times 10. So I'm going to look at my options and see what I have that matches that. Now I know that my pi, and I don't do a good job at drawing that symbol, but I know that that equals 3.14. So what I'm going to do is just replace my 3.14 with the pi symbol to check to see which one is correct. And as I look at my screen, it looks like A matches exactly what I have, except I have 3.14 instead of the pi symbol. So that works, okay? B will not work, and the reason why B won't work is because we have 60 plus 5 times 5. Well, when we did our math on the squares, we only ended up with 20. So I'm not sure where they get this 60 from. So we're going to just get rid of that. But if we check out C, C is showing 20 plus 2 times pi times 5. Now, if you know anything about the rules for multiplication, it doesn't matter which one you multiply first, you will still get the same answer. So for an example, if I did 2 times 5, I'm going to get 10. If I do 5 times 2, I'm still going to get 10. So guess what? I know that when I take this 2 pi and multiply it by 5, it's going to give me 10 pi. Okay, so I'm able to combine those two right then and there. So C looks exactly like A does as well. Okay, but let's check out D. D has a lot of 5s going on there, but I'm going to check to see why it does. Well, when I think about the number of 5s I have going around the shape, I said there was 4, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4 5s, and you add them all together, you're going to get 20. Okay, so then you have the 5 pi plus 5 pi. So if I have 5 pi's, 5 patty pies, patty LaBelle pie, 5 pies plus another 5 pies, I'm going to end up with 10 pies. So therefore, I'm going to have, again, 20 plus 10 pi. And that looks exactly like the one I had above. So therefore, D does work as well. Okay, so let's check out number 3. Number 3 says, which of the following are true statements? So pi is the circumference of a circle when the radius is 1/2. So let's check and see. So it says pi is the circumference of a circle when the radius is 1/2. So C equals 3.14 times D. So C equals 3.14 times D. So let's figure out if the radius is 1/2. First of all, if the radius is 1/2, I need to make that become a diameter. In order to make it become a diameter, I multiply it by 2. And 1/2 times 2 is going to give me 1. So if I plug that in for the diameter and have C equals 3.14 times 1, I'm going to end up with 3.14. So I'm going to go back to the statement, and it says pi is the circumference of a circle when the radius is 1/2. I agree with that statement, and I'm going to select A as one of the correct answers. So let's check B, because it says which of the following are true statements. Notice it didn't have a statement as a singular word. It has as plural word. That means it's more than one. So let me go ahead and check the next one. So it says pi is the circumference of a circle when the diameter is 1. So pi is the circumference of a circle when the diameter is 1. So again, C equals 3.14 times D. Okay? If I plug 1 in for the diameter, I am going to end up with 3.14 times 1 once again, and my answer is going to be what? You got it right, 3.14. So B is another one that is correct. So let's check C real quick. So it says pi is the area of a circle when the diameter is 1/2. First of all, we got to think about what the area formula is for a circle. And area equals 3.14 times radius squared. Okay? So it says pi is the area of a circle when the diameter is 1/2. So if the diameter equals 1/2, then the radius is half of 1/2, which is 0.25. Okay? 0.25. So I'm going to have to plug that in. So I'm going to come down here and put area equals 3.14 times 0.25 to the second power. And we all know that anything raised to the second power is not multiplied by 2, but is multiplied by itself. So we're going to come over here to the calculator. I'm going to plug it in. 3.14. I'm going to multiply that by 0.25. Not one time, but guess what? 2 times. You got it. 0.25. And I'm going to end up with an answer of 0.19625. 0.19625. And we're going to round that. And if I round that up to the nearest tenth, there's going to be 0.2. Area equals, let's just say 0.2. Okay. Now, will that make it true? It said pi is the area of a circle when the diameter is 1/2. Well, if that was true, then our area would have been equal to pi, and right now our area is equal to 0.2. So therefore, C does not work for us. Okay. But let's check out the last one. Let's check out D. So it says D is the area of a circle with the radius 1. Okay. So once again, it is saying that that pi is the area of a circle with a radius of 1. So let's check it out. Area equals 3.14 times radius squared. And now you say radius is 1, right? So I'm going to plug it in. Area equals 3.14 times 1 squared. Now, anytime you square the number 1, the answer is just going to be 1. So therefore, area equals 3.14 times 1. And as you know, like I know, anything times 1 is itself. So therefore, D does work. So A, B, and
Number 4. A class measured radius and circumference of various objects in class. They plotted the points of the graph below. Now, does it appear to be a proportional relationship between the radius and the circumference of the circle? Explain your reasoning. And then I want you to tell me why might the radius and the circumference not be exactly proportional. Well, first of all, I'm going to zoom in real quick at this graph, and I want you to see it up close, okay? And Mr. G is going to try his hardest to actually draw a straight line through this point, because remember in the beginning of this unit, or maybe even last unit, we discussed what a proportional relationship was. And we talked about if the line of the graph is a straight line that passes through the origin, that is proportional. So what we're going to do, I'm going to try my very best to draw a straight line through it, because I can't put a ruler up against the screen because it won't actually work properly, but I'm going to draw a straight line through my points. And I want to see what happens. So when I draw my straight line, again, my line is kind of off. It's not really straight because I redrew it. But even if it was a straight line, you will see that some of the points are not exactly on the line, but it is a straight line that's passing through 0. So for our answer to our question, we're going to say, yes, it does appear. Okay, so actually I'm going to type that in there real quick because I know my handwriting is kind of off, but I can type that in there. So yes, it does appear to pass through 0. Because I should say, yes, it does appear to be proportional because it passes to 0. So yes, it does appear to be proportional because it's a straight line passing through 0. Okay, and let's just fix that real quick. It's a straight line that is passing through 0. Okay, now why might the circumference not be exactly proportional? It's not going to be exactly proportional because it depends on if you use 3.14 or you use the full number for pi. So we're going to say it depends on the usage of 3.14 or the full number for pi. Okay, so if you were to come down here and use this button right here, you see how long that number is? Right here, that number will make a difference in what you actually get if you were to just multiply by 3.14. So I just wanted you to see that for number 4. Okay, so let's scroll down to number 5. Now number 5 is an interesting one. It says, for each of the following, tell if you will use circumference or area to calculate. I'm just going to put the letter C if I think it's circumference. I'll put the letter A if I think it's going to be area. So it says the surface of a round pool. So we're talking about the surface of the pool. We want to figure out whether or not we need to use the circumference or we need to use area. But when we think about the term circumference, circumference is focusing on the things around the circle, the distance around the circle. So it would be asking you the distance around the pool, but that's not what it's asking you. It said, what about the surface of a round pool? So therefore, we're going to utilize area. So I'm going to put the letter A there. Okay. The letter B says the distance the second hand will travel in 1 minute around an analog clock. Now, for my people that use digital clocks now, this is what an analog clock looks like. It's the clock in the classroom that y'all always ask me, Mr. G, what time is it? Yeah, that one. So you have the hour hand, and then you have, the minute hand, and then you have the seconds, right? That clock. So it says the distance the second hand will travel in 1 minute around an analog clock. So the key word here is around. So therefore, we're going to say circumference. Okay. C says the distance around a circular pool. So now that goes back to the letter A where I talked about, going around the pool being a circumference. So that's what C is going to be, a circumference. And then D says the amount of frosting it takes to cover the top of a round cake. So you got to see how much you're going to need. So that's going to take up area, right? So therefore, we need to find the area of that particular cake.
All right, so looking at number 6, it says find the perimeter in the area of the figure below around to the nearest unit. There's one thing I want to mention about number 6. When this study guide was created, it was this picture here was actually renumbered so that you can practice and familiarize yourself with the actual question that's going to be on the test. But however, you see this cut piece right here on the side where it says 5 and 5. That's actually labeled incorrectly, and we want to make sure we correct that, because I want you to see that this 5 is supposed to be 10 right here, and this 5 here is also supposed to be 10. Because how do I know? Well, if this entire thing has a length of 20, then 10 is half of that, right? So that's why I need to change that 5. We did not change that on your paper. So if you would just go ahead and pause the video at this time and make that one correction for me, so that when you go to solve the problem, you'll see what's happening, okay? All right, so we're ready to go. So it says find the perimeter and then find the area. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a little line here, and I'm going to put perimeter here, and I'm going to put area here. And we're going to do some different things here to figure it out. Now, I'm going to break this shape apart into different parts, okay? And I'm going to erase this just a little bit so we can see what's happening, okay? So what I'm going to do, like I said, is break this shape into different parts so that I can find the perimeter, right? So when I look over here, I have 10, I have 20, I have 20 here, and I have 10 here. So that's going to be 20 plus 20 plus 20, right? All right, so we're going to do that, and that's going to give us a total of 60. Now, that's just for the box part of it. But as you can see, the fourth of a circle part that has a radius of 10, we are actually going to take that and find the circumference, because the circumference is the same thing as finding the perimeter. Once we find the circumference, we're going to divide it by 4 because it's a quarter of a circle. And then we're going to add that to 60, okay? So the formula for circumference is C equals 3.14 times the diameter, okay? And right now, our diameter is going to be 20. How do I know? Well, if the radius is 10, all I have to do is multiply the radius by 2 and get 20. So I'm going to have C equals 3.14 times 20. Okay? We're going to simplify that. And if you have your calculator on the side, as I showed you, you can just click it and just go ahead and multiply. 3.14. Oops, I made a mistake. Let me clear it out. So 3.14. It's still doing that to me. Hold on. 3, one more time. 0.14. All right, there you go. So 3.14 times 20. So we multiply that and we're going to get 62.8. So that's 62.8. But now that would be the answer if we were trying to find the circumference of the entire circle. But because we're only doing a fourth of it, we need to divide that answer by 4. So 62.8. What I'm going to do is just click here and hit answer. Oh, sorry, my bad. I did not mean to do that. Oh, well, I just started over again. The next time, just hit answer and then put it up. But 62.8, we're going to divide that by 4, and that's going to give us a total of 15.7. So I have 15.7 for my answer, right? So I'm going to take that 15.7 and I'm going to add it to my 60 that I have up here. And 60 plus 15.7, okay? That's going to give me a grand total of 75.7. And all I have to do is round that up to the nearest 10 or to the nearest whole number, and that's going to make it become 76. Okay? So for my perimeter of this shape is going to be 76. Now they didn't give us a particular unit, so we can just leave it as 76. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is find the area of this particular shape. And we're going to do the same exact thing, but this time I'm going to break it off into a rectangle, a square, and then a fourth of a circle. Okay? So follow me here. We know that the formula for a rectangle or a square is area equals base times height. So when I look at that, I have 20 times 10, and that's going to give me what? Exactly 200. Okay? Now, what about the square? If I do 10 times 10, what is that going to give me? You bet you 100. Very good. Now we're going to take those two, 200, and we're going to add it to 100, give us a grand total of 300. We have that down pretty good. The only thing we have to do now is find the area of that circle, but realize there's only a fourth of it. So we're going to find the area of the circle and divide it by 4. So again, area equals 3.14 times radius squared, and then we're going to divide it by 4. Okay? Alright, so let me just do that now, divide by 4. And why are we dividing it by 4 again? Because we only have a fourth of the circle. Okay? So 3.14 times the radius, and what is my radius here? My radius there is 10, so that's going to be 10 squared. Okay, that's not 10 times 2, that's 10 squared. We're going to divide that by 4. So area equals, and we know that 3.14 times 10 squared. I'm going to just type it in the calculator right here because I don't have enough space, but it looks like this. So 3.14 times, and 10 squared means 10 times 10, right? So we're just going to do 10 times 10. And remember, we have to divide it by 4 because it's a 4. So divide it by 4. And that's going to give me a grand total of 78.5. But we're not done because that's just the area of that quarter of the circle. We have to go back and add it to the area of those squares in the rectangle that we have, right? So that's 300 plus 78.5, which gave us a grand total of 378.5. That's our answer for that particular one. Okay? Now, there is no unit attached to this, but if there was a unit, when you find an area, you make sure you square your unit, okay? Because that's just how that works for area. All right, so now we can do the last problem, which is number 7. And number 7 asks us to, it says that a gardener needs to cover a circular area of a garden with seeds. The diameter of the area is 150. So let's look at this particular garden. So I'm going to draw one. This is the garden, and it has a diameter of 150. Okay? Now, it also says that the store sells a 5-pound bag of seed. So notice how they trick you. It says a 5-pound bag of seed, but 1 pound covers 200 square feet. So right there, you need to take your 5 pound and multiply it by 200 to realize that 1 bag really covers 1,000 feet. That's important information for you to know. Now, the next thing we need to do is find the area of this particular garden, okay? And we're going to do that by doing this. Write in the formula, A equals 3.14 times radius squared. Now, you might say, Mr. G, it didn't give me the radius, it only gave me the diameter. How do I find the radius? It's simple. You take the diameter and you divide it by 2. Your diameter is 150, right? So we're going to divide that by 2 to get a grand total of 75. So therefore, I'm going to have area equals 3.14 times 75 squared. Okay? Now, when we get that, you're ready to simplify. Area equals, we're going to go to our calculator and we're going to type it in there. So 3.14 times 75 times 75, which gives us a grand total of 17,662.5. Okay? Now, we're not done. That's just telling you exactly how much seed you will need. Okay? But remember, 1 bag will give you 1,000 feet. So we're going to take that 17,000 right there, and we're actually going to divide that by 1,000. We're going to divide that by 1,000 because that's going to tell me how many bags I need. So remember earlier I was talking about hitting answer right here. When I hit answer, it brings it up again. I'm just going to hit divide by 1,000, and that's going to give me a grand total of 17. Well, actually, I don't need to put A this time because that's not what we're looking for. We're trying to figure out how many bags. But it's going to give me a grand total of 17.6. Now, obviously, you won't go in the store and say, hey, I need 17.6 bags, right? No. So you're just going to ask for a little extra by just asking for 18. You're going to round it up and just ask for 18 bags. And there you have it. Okay? So students, I wish you the best on your test that you're going to take. Your test is actually going to be mirrored exactly like this study guide. If you need further assistance with this after you already studied, please let me know which ones you are struggling with. Okay? Take your time. It's very important that when you're taking this test, that you're utilizing scratch paper, that you're utilizing a pencil, you're utilizing your calculator, and you're taking your time and you're actually working these problems out. Okay? Whenever you come across a situation where you don't understand what you're doing, that's when you come to me, show me your work, and then I can help you figure out what you did or what you did not do correctly. Okay? With that being said, I wish you the best, and I look forward to speaking with you in my next video.